So let me move on to the next slide. And you can see the whole slide, right? The big flash. I think I've got it on the right thingamajiggy. Yay, okay. So the actual name of this course is Parapsychology Research and Education, and we started in 2015, Corliss and I, and Lisette Coly and Anna Damalis were with us from the beginning, supporting us financially and morally, and we thank them very much. We went from 2015 to 2020. There actually are some things that I still have in the hopper that I haven't recorded and put up onto the playlists. And we'll talk about where the playlists are to be found. I also wanted to say that at the very beginning, I found this on 123rf.com, and it was a person who was using Radiant Skies as her handle, and she had a lot of phenomena from parapsychology in Wordles, as well as the overall parapsychology. So we spent a couple $100 to have it forever and ever and ever. Lisette, if you'll shut up, turn off your video, that'll help a little bit. So what we were originally going to be doing was having this in March, and we decided to do a shorter one because of what the topic was and who we could get, and we were so excited about all the people that are going to be talking for us over the next 2 weeks. And we welcome Pascal. We were originally going to do this in March, and as those of you who were on here at the beginning know, I managed to bang into every door I have at the back of my apartment and was not ready for prime time. I look like a raccoon. So we decided to push it back to April, and I'm very grateful for all of the people who were able to stay with us. Pascal, can you turn your video off? That'll help us with the bandwidth. So there's me, obviously. I'm the moderator, Jeannie Legal Dollar. We'll talk a little bit more about her. I'm really excited that she's our first one up, because I don't think I've seen her since the 80s when she was investigating the case that she's going to be talking about. And then we have Kirsty Allen and Athena Drews, Kate Adams, Natalia Lavin, Sally Ann Drucker, and Jim Matlock. And then, of course, Brian is our curriculum director these days. Carlos did that for us from 2015 until 2020, and then it wasn't possible after that. And when we came back last year, Brian put together a very interesting look at ghosts and poltergeists and hauntings that had a lot of clinical stuff going on, as well as very expert individuals who do field investigation talking about their work. Natasha Chisdis is usually in the background and does all kinds of things for us as well. So let's move on to the next one. And that's my Wordle that I'm absolutely adore, that I absolutely adore. So what we're going to talk about today was welcome from us, and I hope I've already said that. Welcome to ParaMOOC. The philosophy of ParaMOOC, the content and structure of the course is really a course. We're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do, but we are going to be providing you with more and more information as we go along, and you'll see where you can find that. We're going to talk about the speakers. We're going to talk about navigating and finding what you need. And hopefully, when I try to go out to the websites and share those instead of the PowerPoint, that will work well. And the two of us that are doing the most with this is the Parapsychology Foundation, as I mentioned, and then the AZIRE. When Carlos and I were at the University of Virginia and beginning to think about doing this type of a course, we were looking for something that we could do that would really bring a lot of the researchers who were active at the time to everybody. The first one was very, very ambitious. We had, I think, almost 30 presentations, and sometimes we had 2 or 3 on the same day. Most people were were talking 60 to 90 minutes, but really it was totally okay with us, however anybody wanted to do it, whether it was 30 minutes or 40 or whatever. And then we would use up the question and answer, or if the individual needed to get going, then we stopped wherever that was. And so we kept that idea that if the speakers are interested in participating, what is really important for us is that they're doing it in a way that makes sense to them. You know, fits their at their convenience, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And so far that's worked out really well for us. And then finally, we'll do a question and answer. Oh, I know what I wanted to say was how we got to AZIRE was Natasha Chisis was also working at University of Virginia with us. We were in the Division of Perceptual Studies that at that point was being run by Dr. Bruce Grayson of near-death experience fame. And we were trying to come up with something that we could do on our own and kind of brand as our own. And Natasha said, well, why don't you just call it the Alvarado Zingrone Institute for Research and Education? And we were like, And then she explained that's AZIRE, and that's a lot easier than the entire thing. I will dish a little bit on my American friends, and I'm American, obviously, but I have Italian American heritage, and so last names that end with a vowel was not a problem for me, but it was a real problem for an awful lot of people. And then we put two of them together because Carlos was born in Boston but raised in Puerto Rico, and his mom and dad were, the whole family was in Puerto Rico. So let's get on to the next one. And then, anyway, the AZIRE is easier to say. So the philosophy of ParaMOOC, if you don't know, that's Carlos S. Alvarado, my late husband, who passed away in 2021 and is missed like nobody's business. He was as a lot of you know, he was a wonderful, kind-hearted, and sweet-tempered guy who really just wanted to do his research and mentor as many people as he possibly could. And he certainly did a really good job of that. One thing I want to mention before we get into the philosophy is that Roman and Littlefield gave Sonali Marwa and I a contract for a 3-volume set at the moment called The Archives of Carlos S. Alvarado. And it's 3 volumes of articles that he wrote himself and wrote with colleagues. The first volume has to do with parapsychology and psychical research and its predecessors. So it's mostly things that were happening in the 19th century or being published in the 19th century. And then the second volume is similar. It's mostly history and philosophy, and it's all on focusing on psychical research and parapsychology, again, various phenomena. And that is things that were coming out in the 20th century. And then the third one is kind of it has his experimentation, it has theory articles, it has some things that he wrote for various websites and for the Parapsychological Association's newsletter and for the Parapsychology Foundation. If you're ever looking for bibliography on pflyceum.org, has about 50 bibliographies that he put together for people who were interested in the history of the field. So that's another project that I'm working on at the moment. And then I have 2 other groups of people who are waiting for us to get this to the publishers so that I can shift over to the anthology of his Spanish language articles and another book that he had hoped to write about the idea of force as an explanation for psychic experiences in the 19th century. So that's what's going on with Alvarado's legacy. So the philosophy that we came to from the very beginning was that we wanted to have presentations by international researchers and scholars with academic training or a track record of serious research. We really felt like there's so many people out there doing so many wonderful things that it's really important for us to be shining a light on that and letting them do whatever they needed to do in terms of time or topic to bring to serious students and the general public and researchers. We also wanted to offer a variety of perspectives on the phenomena. So sometimes we had somewhat of a theme, and we had people coming in from different areas. So we had Chris French one year. We had Ed May a couple of times, who's a materialist, a kind of extended materialist. And there was a lot of kind of coming and going in terms of how people were looking at the topic that we were talking about, or they were talking about. We also wanted to make sure that this type of knowledge was more accessible to general audiences. There are an awful lot of wonderful adult education types of videos and courses that people can go to. And yet many people in the general public may not be college, may not have gone to college or graduate school, but they have the interest and they have the understanding that they really want to hear the thing, what the researchers are actually doing. So that was another thing we wanted to do. And then we also wanted to highlight the important work of less recognized individuals and groups. So we were keen to get people in from Brazil and from Argentina and from France and from all over the world to talk about the things that they were interested in, and also what Carlos liked to call the forgotten phenomena, things that were not normally popping up in the usual parapsychology, like the Parapsychology Foundation stuff, although PF has always been more eclectic than anybody else, which is a good thing. The Parapsychological Association, the Society for Scientific Exploration, and so on. There were people who were not in those orbits that had lots of things to say. So that was another part of our philosophy, and particularly part of Carlos's agenda, because he was keen to get people to understand that parapsychological phenomena is also psychology and sociology and anthropology and physics, that we are dealing with experiences and phenomena that are multidisciplinary, as well as the need of understanding that you can't just live with one language. You need to have more languages, or you need to have colleagues who speak your language but can handle the literature in their own language and bring that to the fore, so that we're not just living in an Anglo-American English world in this what Bob Morris used to call an interdisciplinary domain. And I think it's an international interdisciplinary domain as well. I think he thought so too. So the structure and content of the courses, we're having an opening and a closing session. The opening session is today, obviously, and the closing session is 2 weeks from now on Sunday, the 28th. We'll have a discussion forum on the 21st, which I think is the middle Sunday. So there will be 3 different discussion forums. One this afternoon in Second Life at the AZIRE Library and Learning Center, one in, and then 3 of those, because those will happen an hour after we finish from the Zoom version. So it's 2 p.m. on the 3 Sundays. And then on the final closing day, we'll spend more time on the discussion than Brian and I getting very, very poetic about what happened this time. Nothing that happens in this course is going to be something that you must do. We do have certificates. I know the people from 2023 are like, where's my the certificate, and I've been sending them out recently. We have one called completion, and an individual can write and say, listen, I watched for half of them on YouTube, and can I get a certificate? And the answer is yes. If you would like to have a certificate of distinction, you need to have watched at least half of the recordings and can talk about what you found in terms of the supplemental materials on the website. And again, it's the individuals letting us know what they want and what type of certification do they want. And it's not, doesn't give you CEU credits or anything, but it is signed by Lisette Coly, and it does come from the Parapsychology Foundation, and we're very proud about that. Then we have all kinds of supplemental materials. I've got a list that I got from Kirstie Allen this morning. I got a list yesterday from Brian Williams. I've got a number of people who are suggesting books and articles. Donna Thomas, who we had hoped to have in this iteration of the ParaMOOC, and April wasn't going to work for her. She has sent us a preprint of one of her newest articles, as well as some other information that we can use in the supplemental area, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. And then there'll be other lists of relevant videos that are on the Parapsychology Online YouTube channel, especially on the Parapsychology Foundation YouTube channel and elsewhere on YouTube. We're now spoiled for choice with what is out there on YouTube. The main place where the recordings will be on the ParaMOOC 2024 playlist on Parapsychology Online's YouTube channel, and will be mirrored on the ParaMOOC playlist, which is a combined playlist of almost everything from 2015 to 2024 on the Parapsychology Foundation YouTube channel. So that's where the materials are going to be. So I want to go through this quickly, as at the end, we're going to be talking about where you can find the fuller version of their description of what they're talking about and their autobiographies. And that will be on the Parapsychology Online website. You'll see that in a little bit. So our first one up is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, and that's recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis in the case of Christina Boyer. I remember this because I got to the Rhine Research Institute in December of 1982 as the lowest person on the totem pole in terms of the staff. And Psychical Research Foundation and Bill Roll were in Chapel Hill, in the next town over in North Carolina. So we got to see how things were doing. One of our researchers, Jim Carpenter, and his family were hosting Christina. And I think this is going to be a very interesting talk that Jeannie is going to bring to us. And I haven't seen Jeannie since the 80s, so that's a wonderful thing. Next up, on Thursday, April 18th, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, and 1 p.m. In London time, Kirstie Allen from University of Central Lancashire and the University of Northampton will be talking about psi and sensitivity, and she's here with us. So if you want to ask her a couple of questions when we get to the Q&A, feel free. We also have Athena Drews, who's been with us a number of times before, and also came and did a really wonderful workshop at the Parapsychology Foundation back at the beginning of the 21st century with Sally Drucker. She will be on Friday, April 19th at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, and her talk is Children's Exceptional Experiences, Exploring Anecdotal Cases and Clinical Ways to Work with Children and Families. And I didn't pull up the description of what she's going to talk about because basically the title covers it, but please take a look at that page on Parapsychology Online to see the rest of what she said about not only her Athena's background, but also what she's going to be talking about. On Monday, April 22nd at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, and 1 p.m. London is Kate Adams. She just emailed me a little while ago and said, how about if we meet up at 7 a.m. instead of 4 a.m.? So I'm very happy about that. I will be changing. I'm not sure that I got in there and got it changed on Parapsychology Online, but it will be later on today. Kate Adams is from the Faculty of Social Sciences and Education at Leeds Trinity University, and her talk is Visions in the Night, Children's Extraordinary Dreams. You'll see, if you go to take a look, you'll see more about her, and she's kind of like me. She was doing this kind of stuff for her PhD at the University of Glasgow. And Carlos and I were at Edinburgh, and I think I started writing papers about parapsychology when I was an undergraduate at Montauban College in Chicago, which is now part of Loyola University. And those of you who've been in the field for a really long time know that I was there when Brenda Dunn was there as well. She's a much more important graduate of Mundelein than I am, but glad to have had her in my life all of her life. So the next one is Wednesday, April 24th, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, and 1 p.m. London. And this is Talia Lavin, who is doing a PhD at the University of Northampton. She's going to be talking about anomalous experiences in childhood, implications for therapists. She was recently at the 46th annual conference of the SPR. I got to fix that before I send you the PowerPoint. And she is doing work on children and young people's anomalous experiences. And she makes a very important justification for why this type of research is so important. So I hope you'll read her stuff on Parapsychology Online. Sally Drucker, who I mentioned before, who's a partner in crime with Athena Drews and has been for years and years. She's at the Ryan Research Center now and is the editor of the Journal of Parapsychology and a vice president of the Ryan Research Center's board of directors, as well as having been a member of the Parapsychological Association for a really long time, and like me, and on the PA board of directors. She and Athena started their interest in parapsychology and these kinds of experiences in the 70s. And they both put out in 1991 a very important annotated bibliography, a reference book called Parapsychological Research with Children, an Annotated Bibliography. It's really good, and it's still out there. She'll be talking on Thursday, April 25th from 1 p.m. Central or 2 p.m. Eastern. And the title of her talk is Children's Sigh, What the Research Tells Us. Last but not least, we have Jim Matlock, who is a research fellow of the Parapsychology Foundation. He will be talking on Saturday, April 27th at 3 p.m. Central / 4 p.m. Eastern. The topic of his talk is previous lives and why past life memory isn't psi. He's had an interesting academic career. He did his BA in English from Emory University in Atlanta. He had a master's in archivist, so he did a lot of librarian work. He reorganized the Ryan Research Center in the early 80s when I was there. He also worked at the American Society for Psychical Research in New York City when they were still in New York City and doing research. He's still connected to the Ryan Research Center in North Carolina. He's the co-author with Erlander Haraldson of I Saw Light and Came Here, Children's Experiences of Reincarnation, and is the author of an extremely interesting and important book, Signs of Reincarnation, Exploring Beliefs, Cases, and Theories. That's also the name of his Facebook page, which I think is over 50,000 people so far. He does an enormous amount of work on that Facebook page answering questions and giving material and talking about the research and so on. And he's a very erudite guy, and I think this is going to be a really good talk. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to do two things. We're going to take a look at navigating and finding what you need. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you both of the websites that we're going to look at. So the first one is Parapsychology Online. You get there by actually just putting that in, parapsychologyonline.org, and it will take you to the website. So this is my website. It was mine and Carlos's. We also have another one, but this was made specifically for this course. There are a variety of things that you can find here on the MOOC, and this is some information of what everybody's doing. Anything that's got underlining, obviously, is going to be a click-through. If you have friends who would like to register, they just need to do what you did and send us an email and tell us what they put register in the subject line. This is just the basic schedule, and it gives you the times and so on. And I will be fixing Kate's times later on today or tomorrow morning. And then this is the page where the longer biographies and bigger abstracts are available. This gives you a lot more information about what people are doing and what the talk is going to be about. So I really think that this is something that you need to take a look at. Another thing on that area is the materials to download, and this is going to get bigger and bigger as we go along. The PowerPoints will be put up here so you can take them down. The publications that people are requesting me to put out there for you will be here with click-throughs that you can get. So for instance, we have Donna Thomas and her colleague Graham O'Connor's article that's up in preprint at Explore. You can click through and see that and take it down. Then this is a book by Donna, and where you can get that book. And again, Jim Matlock's book from Roman and Littlefield, and I will be putting up the other book with Erlander. And then here's supplemental information that's here as well, and these videos will have their links to the videos a little bit later on. And then we also have, and this is actually leftover from last year, but we're adding to it. These are our suggested, recommended websites and Facebook pages and YouTube channels. And I think I'll probably be adding a few of those there. And this is just a little blurb for our YouTube channel. The other thing I wanted to say was it's really important to go to parapsychology.org, not only because the Parapsychology Foundation has an enormous amount of materials, and recently you can get into the foundation publications and have the PDFs there. There are also news and blogs that go back for quite a while. The grants that are still happening. And this is Edsel Cardena's relatively new journal, the Journal of Anomalous Experience that Parapsychology Foundation supported as well. And then this is a wonderful little video about where the library has gone. As these organizations get older, and those of us who are running them get older, it's important to make sure that things are in the hands of people that can do the best with the people, do the best with the assets and the libraries. The Garrett Library is intact at the University of Maryland in Baltimore County, and this is a really good introduction to that. I recommend it. Also, I just should mention that this summer in July, Wellington Zangari and Fatima Machado, who have given talks in the ParaMOOC in recent, earlier iterations of our course, they will be coming and picking up a significant amount of Carlos's library, which was 3,000 books and I really don't know how many items in terms of manuscripts and journals, especially journals that no longer exist. They're going to be taking what they want to have for the library at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil. And later on in August, Jim Matlock and his daughter and his ex-wife, they're all friends, are coming up to stay with me. And he is going to be taking some more of what's left of the books and the journals. And I am very lucky to have all of these people in my life, because they have told me that if I need anything out of Carlos's library or the stuff that's earmarked for Matlock's family's library, which is a real library in Tennessee, my wishes of what I need to keep while I'm doing my own work is on everybody's mind. So that's really wonderful, and I'm very appreciative about that. I also want to say that PF blog goes back a really long time, and it's really wonderful. And I can't help but adore this one, which Lisette introduced, a blog from Brian Williams about the course. This is another place that you can bookmark and go back and see when people are going to be talking, and it's got all of the days, and then you can come back to us for the times and so on. But I recommend, there is a way in Parapsychology Online to grab the information to have it be in your Google Calendar, if that works. Otherwise, just bookmark this stuff so that you can get back to where we are. And I would also recommend the Parapsychology Foundation Facebook page, the Parapsychology Foundation Psychic Explorers Facebook page, the Parapsychology Online Facebook page, the Society for Psychical Research, and so on, and the Psychical Research Foundation website as well. In fact, I should have had that in here, Brian. I'm sorry. We'll put that up in one of the discussions. So all of those places are enormous areas where you can get more and more information about what the researchers are doing and how that's going to work. This is the final slide, and it shows you where it shows you the interior of the AZIRE Learning and Library and Learning Center in Second Life. And as you can see, there's some nice little places to sit for people who come and talk, and it gives you information about what's going on. And in this particular room, there's a board that you can click, and it gives you articles by the individuals that are sitting there and some biographical material. At the bottom, you see what is known as the Second Life URL. And all you need to do when you get to the PowerPoint, which is going to be downloaded into the supplemental material section, or in the page for materials to download, rather, you will be able to go to that and copy it and paste it into this bar up at the top of your screen once you have gotten into Second Life. And once you drop it in there, you can click, and away you will go, and you will end up in the AZIRE Library and Learning Center. So that's how to do that. And again, it's an option. Turn your videos back on, or just your audio. More than happy for all of you guys to open up and if you have any questions, you want to have any comments. If some of you have been in the ParaMOOC before and want to mention that experience, that's okay too. So I think I will turn my video back on. I think we're okay right now, because I've turned off all the other things. So does anybody have any questions?
I think you covered a lot. I mean, this is, it sounds like it's just going to be an amazing course this year. And for anybody here that's new or that's watching that's new, I can't recommend this enough for people, because it's one of the few places that you're actually going to get proper information. And if anybody wants to sort of get past the, the television shows and the, the crazy that the media puts forward, like, this is the place to do this. And yeah, so anybody that's like coming onto YouTube and clicking on this or watching this is where you want to be if you're serious about this stuff. That's what I gotta say.
I really appreciate it. I mean, I feel like I've learned so much from being a moderator for ParaMOOC. It's just been absolutely amazing. All kinds of things that I knew a little bit about or didn't know in depth. And that was one of the things that Carlos and I were talking about when we first started to do this, was that you go to the conferences and somebody gets up to that podium and they've got this amazing piece of research and they have to sit down in 30 minutes. And it used to be back in the day that if they got an award or something, they could talk for 60 to 90 minutes, and now forget about it, it's 30 minutes again. And some of the main material that you see is 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and we were just starving for the rest of the story, right? So that was another reason why we just said to people, however long you want to talk, whatever you want to say, let's just let you. We actually, with Jan Holden, and I think those videos are in the ParaMOOC combined that Lisette has on the Parapsychology Foundation YouTube. She literally got halfway through in her 90 minutes, and the questions and answers were going on, and so she said, "Can I come back like next week?" And absolutely. So we ended up having 2 sessions with her, and it was really, really excellent, because Jan has been a longtime editor of the Journal of Near-Death Studies, and she really knows what's up. And she's a professor at a university. I think she's retired now, but was a professor at University of Texas in Austin, I think it was. So she was a very, very, very good presenter and very kind-hearted, and answered all the questions, big and small, with the same kind of respect and information. And we were just delighted to have her do that. So that's something that we were really looking for our edification, is being able to be with people as long as they were willing to be with us and talk about what we need to. So,
well, Nan,
do you
if
have
I
something to
may,
say, Lisa?
yeah, well, I think, I'm a fan, obviously, but I think one of the great values of the ParaMOOC, and what has always lit my fire, is that having sponsored academic conferences, foundation, I don't know, 27 and one, that's all well and good. But what I like about the ParaMOOC is it makes the phenomena accessible to people that don't necessarily have to be a card-carrying Harvard PhD, because we all have brains. And in thinking about my over 50 years, God help me, at Parapsychology Foundation, I think the reason that the whole field, and I can say anything now because I'm old, so what are they going to do to me, right? And I don't.
Love that part about
Yeah, exactly. It's very liberating. I think one of the reasons why we don't go as far as we have gone is that everybody's talking with definitions that are different. So I like that the ParaMOOC gives you the exact information and a basis to which to build on, so that we're all talking on the same page and in the same direction, all our oars in the same water. So bravo. And as long as I know the PF and me, we're hanging on by a string, but as long as that string is not unbroken, I will be tying my leaky little boat to ParaMOOC in your efforts. So I know Carlos is very, very proud of you, and I'm very proud of both of you. So onwards and upwards.
We are so great. We are so grateful for the Parapsychology Foundation. When we first started to work for Lisette, one of the things that I told her and Mrs. C was that they had once told me I couldn't have a grant. And
so psychic, aren't we? So psychic, yes.
But it was okay. I had done my senior thesis at Mundelein because I had John Bisaha, who was a parapsychologist at that point. And what's funny is that he decided to retire to the town that I grew up in. So he's like, 5 minutes away from me
Yeah.
now. He was very serious for a while, and he really treated it like it was a graduate level kind of capstone project. And I sat down one snowy day, and I wrote a letter to the PF as an undergraduate and said, "Oh, I'd like to have all this money and be able to do this work with deaf kids." And Lisette wrote me a really wonderful, I didn't know it was her until we went to PF as employees, wrote a very nice and encouraging letter. And when I got it, I brought it with me in my bag, and the whole family was going up to northern Wisconsin for a vacation. So I was like holding on to it. I hadn't looked at it. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So my mom and dad were around, and I opened it up, and I did the whole thing, ooh.
Mixed emotions, right?
Yeah, totally. And my dad said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I want to go to grad school."
Good. That's the legacy of the PF. No, seriously,
Yeah,
all the students, all the people that you're in touch with, that when we were in the office and the libraries, we're throwing those pebbles out into the pond. And if you're old enough, you can watch the ripples. I just wish that they would turn into waves. That's my problem.
Well,
But
it has done for. I mean, look at Charlie Tart, and
that's true.
Charlie Tart had his first grant from
Mrs.
AZIRE.
G.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, from
And
Mrs. G,
he wrote her, I think it was $500, but remember in the
Yep.
late 50s, $500 was a lot of
A
money.
lot of money.
And he wrote her back, and I have the letters, it's cute. And he said, "Well, I have $46.20 left, and I would like to, I have to send it back." And Mrs. G said, "No, that's all right. You can keep the change," which I think is that was a good investment for sure with Charlie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And he's still out there. He's
Mm.
very, very what do you call it? He's just very, very active in some of the chat lists that we're all on, and they were.
Well, I think he
teasing him
wasn't
the
he
other
the
day.
one of the first of survival? Wasn't that that was his
Yes,
baby? Yeah.
absolutely. And also the altered states of consciousness was really important, and a lot of that came from Charlie as well. I mean, Chuck was the king of that for a while, but Charlie, really, really did a lot with that, a lot of books and so on. And now Edsel has kind of picked that up. Edsel Cardenio, who was also wasn't he a scholarship winner,
Yes.
Edsel?
Yes, he
Yeah,
was a Garrett. I think he was a third Garrett scholarship winner or whatever. Yeah, we like backing winners or whatever. Just think, you and Carlos and Brian, right? Somebody in ParaMOOC, someone else is good. Well, I don't want to say we're going to get anointed, but who knows what you guys are all going to come up with. So
I got an email from a person that moved up here from South America who wants to get together and talk about where he needs to go next. And it's that's just, I'm 11 years older than oh, I'm sorry. Are you having trouble hearing me? Margaret's saying she's having trouble hearing me. What was I going to say? I'm 11 months older than the PF. So I was born in January of 1951, and the PF was born in
1950 April.
December.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's wonderful to still have that thing going on where periodically somebody has a question to ask, and you just know they're going somewhere. It's like when Cal Cooper was a kid, and when
I know he calls me his paramama. I've been called a lot of things in my life, but I'm particularly proud of paramama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, if anybody else wants to say anything, we still have a couple of minutes or 5 minutes or so. Brian, do you want to pop in? Oh, Darcy, please.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to add that, Morgan and I kind of come from the same golden age when we first started getting into this with, parapsychology, having labs and colleges and stuff like that. And I learned a lot from parapsychology when I was just a kid. And a lot of people were like, "How'd you know that?" Well, it was the golden age. There are a lot of people publishing back then, Dr. William Roll and Hans Holzer and all those people. And I was reading those books, and to see how we've gone from that to mainstream entertainment, to back into here again. I remember when I went to my first conference for the Society for Scientific Exploration in Denver. I was fangirling all over the place. I was so embarrassed. Meeting all these
too.
different people that I'd been teaching about in my college classes, and but to be in this environment, the way you've set it up, Nan, is so casual. I mean, nobody's afraid to ask questions. And when you go to those conferences, you can be really, really nerve wracked. It's just like, oh my gosh, am I gonna say the wrong thing? Am I gonna make the wrong impression? Oh my gosh. But here, I feel like, so like you said, it's more free. And not just in the financial term, but but in the connections term too. I mean, you're talking to people from all over the world. When I was talking to my significant other this morning, I said, oh, I'm gonna be talking to people from probably Brazil and Germany and France. He's like, what? I said, this is a really great program we got going on here. So I'm really excited, especially with the children aspect. I get a lot of cases where parents are really concerned. And I'm gleaning as much as I possibly can from the resources I have, but to see this lineup we have this year, I'm excited.
We have a lot of wonderful people that are they're so on that topic, and I love what Brian is doing with the curriculum, because he's more theme related than we were, and I just think it's really terrific, because you get the same bell rung in so many different ways. So, and as you're getting towards the end of the course, it's like, wow, I never thought about this. I never thought about that. I didn't realize that people were doing this. And, it's just been a wonderful change in the curriculum. So, Brian, you're wonderful. And you knew that. But
Well, for sure. And to follow in Carlos left very big footsteps. And for have Brian too, it's all fun and games, you and me, Nan, saying, oh, wonderful, new blood, new blood. Yeah, well, who was out there turning rocks over to find new blood or whatever? So everything, respect for Brian for sure, who I think was also a Garrett, but we won't go there. Anyway.
I think so too. And Brian has been a stalwart in from 2015 forward. He's always been either helping us out or doing these incredible literature review articles that are so wonderful. That's another Facebook page that's just astonishing, and a website, the Psychical Research Foundation. I'm sure Bill is so grateful, because
and with citations. Oh, always with the citation. I crib from Brian all the time. I go, oh, where did he get that one? Oh, this is good. This is good.
I know. And now he's working on an important a very important project with Jerry Sullivan as well. So there's lots going on over there.
And let's not forget Natasha, because Natasha has gotten me out of all sorts of mishmashes in computers, because as you probably figured out, I'm not very technologically swift. So Natasha's always been in the back and ready to hold my hand, or anybody else's too. So
yeah, really
good group, good group.
So Morgan, you don't have your audio off, so I'm assuming you got something to say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how Lisette a few minutes ago was talking about, labels and like getting everybody on the same page and all of that kind of thing. And I have to tell you guys, like, it just in this past week, I just got done filming a new show that's gonna be on Travel Channel, and I spent a huge chunk of that day going through the questions and stuff like that the producers are asking me, and correcting stuff like labels. What are you calling things?
Cool.
Rephrasing. And thankfully, like the show that's coming, it won't air till October, but at least I'm hoping that at least I try to keep my segments just as accurate as possible, so that we can start using this information on a broad scale. Like, this is going to be aired all over America, all over Canada, all over the UK. And it's like it really, really, really does matter. So if you're wondering about ripples, here's the ripple effect of ParaMOOC.
That a girl.
Yeah, this is spreading everywhere.
I'll buy you another drink when you come to New York.
Oh, I would absolutely, I would love it.
A tsunami would be nice.
A tsunami would be nice.
Well, Pascal, did you want to say anything, or Kirsty, or Eli, or Brian, or Teresa, or Rishi, or anybody, or Margaret? I see it. I see Mike opening up.
Yeah, just thanks for having me. I really look forward to meeting you all a bit more on Thursday. Like to have a very kind of open, chatty sort of way of going about stuff. And also look to hear your experiences as well. And maybe if you work with children or young people, just your insights and stuff. So it's all one big collaboration. But speaking of which, I have my own two little paranormal younglings, and I can hear an argument over Mario Kart, and I should probably.
Fair.
And how are you doing, Pascal? It's nice to see your
I'm
face again.
fine. I just wanted to thank you to be here once again. And I will hear all the talks with great pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Lisette, too.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I'm anxious to hear all this because I want to learn where I went wrong when my daughter, who would have been the great grandchild of Eileen Garrett, and my son asked me when they were little, Mama, are there any such things as ghosts? Now, what the hell was I supposed to say? So maybe I'll learn when the grandchildren asks me, maybe I'll have a better response. So
You never know, it kind of, jumps. I mean, Mrs. C was such a very so English, she was very perfect and very polite and very, very she was a wonderful way of
calm
keeping
presence.
Yeah, I was going to say, and keeping Carlos and I and you from flying off the top of the building because we had this great idea, which usually came from Lisette. And she would say, now, children, here we were all in our 50s, but now, children, and she would tell us all the pros and cons and what was possible and what wasn't and so on. But she didn't exactly get the psychic part of it, right? So and she certainly had an interesting life with Mrs. G, I'm sure.
With Mrs. G
So
and the rest of the
you never know where it's going to pop up in the
for sure.
in the DNA. Well, if anybody else doesn't have anything to say, Eli, you want to say anything? Or I'm not asking Brian again because I think he's definitely happy, not on camera. If anybody else has anything to say, just there you go. I see that your mic is on.
Well, no, I'm just glad to be here. Looking forward to hearing more on the topic. And also those DNA ancestry tests aren't very reliable. So I wouldn't,
so glad,
unless you're law enforcement and you're trying to figure out who a suspect is, they're not super reliable.
That makes me feel a lot better, I must say. It's like, wait a second, I'm not Italian. Oh, well.
I just remember at one thing they did a while ago to demonstrate how unreliable they were was they sent in DNA from a dog. And they got back results, and that the dog had human ancestry. So
that's kind of scary. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you.
Oh, well, now I don't feel so bad about the Neanderthals. Oh, well, it's a little bit after 1, and thank you so much for coming. Any of you who are going to join us at 2 p.m. in Second Life, I'll be sitting there probably trying to put more things on the wall because I haven't been working in there very much. And we will see you tomorrow, Monday at, I think it's 3 p.m. For Jeannie Legal Dollar and her discussion of the Christina Boyer thing, and it's going to be excellent, I'm sure. So I hope you'll all be able to come, and if not, you'll see us in the recording. And have a wonderful day, you guys, and welcome back to ParaMOOC.
Yay! Bye.
Bye.